Hello, I'm Nathan P. Butler, author of A Saga on Home Video, the second edition of which can be found as a 3-volume set in hardback, paperback, or print replica Kindle copy over on Amazon. I am also the host of Star Wars Home Video Year by Year here on YouTube, where we take a look at Star Wars Home Video releases primarily in the US, but otherwise outside the US in some cases, as we go from year to year to year through the chronology of the releases. I also host From the Star Wars Home Video Library here on YouTube, which is an in-depth look at a lot of Star Wars Home Video items from throughout the world. Started with the US, and it's certainly branched off from there. This is the first in a new series of episodes, kind of tied into those other two series, where I just kind of ran into something I thought might be a little bit fun and a nice way to kind of get some engagement out there with the community. Give you something fun to do if you've been following the shows or perhaps read the book. So I was sitting there, just kind of bored the other day, killing some time, and what came to my mind was, boy, wouldn't it be kind of fun to do some like Star Wars home video trivia type stuff? So I started writing some questions. I wrote some questions, and I wrote some questions. And by the time that next morning had rolled around, after I'd done a little bit that night and then just opened it up on a lark again the next morning, I had over 90 questions already written. Yeah, I tended to kind of overdo it. And I started thinking, where could I actually do these? You know, could I set up something like a Google quiz or something? Wouldn't that be fun? Because I figured if I put them just in the comments, like in the Star Wars Home Video group on Facebook, which is a great group, by the way, link in the comments and showing on the screen here. If I did it like that, then somebody could just answer and spoil it for everybody, and that's it. And there's really no way to grade it. Just, I don't know, just didn't seem like the best way to do it. And as I got to thinking about it, I thought, you know what? My bailiwick now with the Star Wars Home Video stuff tends to be doing the stuff here on YouTube, so why not do it through YouTube in some way? So what we're going to do in this series, this Star Wars Home Video Trivia series, yeah, very catchy name there, is in each episode, I'm going to ask 10 Star Wars Home Video Trivia questions. I'll basically ask the question and then wait about 5 seconds to ask the next one. Why not longer in the middle? Because you have access to a pause button. And then after going through all the questions, we'll stop. Anyone who wants to jump off can. And then I'll go through the answers to all 10 of those questions. And the thought process here is that you would keep track of how many you got right, tally up a score out of 10, and then in the comments, here's what's going to be the kicker. In the comments, please only post your score. Do not post the answers. If you post the answers, your comment will be deleted. If you post your answers over and over again across multiple videos in this series, and there will be multiple, many with this shirt because I'm recording a bunch here at the beginning all at the same time, you will simply have your account marked as hide user from channel so that you can keep talking, but no one will see what you post. Okay? We need to keep this so it is fun for everyone. Do not post your answers. Simple enough. But post your score. And if you really want to keep up with this series, I've got at least 10 episodes of this worth of questions pretty much ready to go. I just need to record the episodes. So in doing so, feel free to keep track of your cumulative score out of the total number of questions that have been asked to see how it turns out at the end. 10 episodes would be 100 questions, which makes it really easy to determine what percentage you have answered correctly. Now, what does that mean? Well, here in Georgia, 70% is passing, anything below is failing. I know where I grew up, we had D's, so 60 and up is passing, below 60 is failing. And these, in some cases, are some pretty tough questions. You might think of this as kind of like an honors or an AP level quiz on Star Wars Home Video stuff, so feel free, if you want to do like Georgia, to maybe like add 7 honors or AP points to your grade at the end for taking such a difficult course. Whatever. Suffice to say, we're going to do 10 questions at a time. I think it'll be fun and engaging, but please respect others and don't post your answers. Instead, post your score. If anybody wants to know the answers, they'll get them at the end of the video. Okay, so let's dive into this thing. No particular like categorization of topics. Literally, I just have tons of questions already typed out, so we will just dive into these. Let's do it. All right, question number 1. And again, I'll be leaving about 5 seconds, just kind of count it in my head between questions at least. If you need more time, it is certainly fair to pause. So number 1, on which format was A New Hope, that is the full film, first released to retail in the United States? Yes, many of these questions will be US related. I'm trying to keep it tied into stuff that we would have seen in the Saga on Home Video 2nd edition or from the Star Wars Home Video library or Star Wars Home Video year by year if it is caught up to that year. That was a lot more than 5 seconds probably. Let's move on to number 2. What marking on packaging can be used to determine if a copy of A New Hope on VHS or Beta is from 1984 or from the era of 1986 to 1989? Number 3. In what year was it first possible to purchase all 3 original trilogy films together in a single purchase in the US? I do not mean you could just buy all 3 of them at once. I mean a single item you are purchasing that includes all 3. Number 4. What was the name for the product line that introduced widescreen laserdiscs of the original trilogy in Japan? Number 5. What is the more common name, either the full name or the abbreviated version, for the format known as VCC? Number 6. In what year was the first Star Wars product released on VHS and Beta in the United States? Number 7. What was the last Star Wars Laserdisc release in the United States? I'm trying very hard not to just stare at the camera there and just be all creepy between questions. Number 8. Which Star Wars film had a Laserdisc release in Japan, but not in the United States? Number 9. There were 2 American Star Wars releases and at least 1 Australian release on a format called Personal Video Disc, or PVD. What type of device could play a PVD? And finally, for this episode, our last question, number 10. How many different variations of the bonus lightsaber action DVD product was released? We are talking about the DVD itself within its packaging, not necessarily the lightsaber toys it was packaged within. All right, now if you need more time, cut it off here. If you don't want to see the answers, cut it off here. We are about to go over the answers to these. Remember to check your answers as we go and post your score down in the comments, whether it is cumulative across the series, as it will be in future episodes, or just for this episode. In this case, obviously, it is just for this episode. Here we go. Number 1. On which format was A New Hope, the full film, first released to retail in the United States? The key there is retail. The answer is Laserdisc. It hit Laserdisc in June '82. It did not hit VHS and Beta until September. It did come out as a video rental library edition, but remember, I said retail. Number 2. What marking on packaging can be used to determine if a copy of A New Hope on VHS or Beta is from 1984 or 1986 to 1989? The ones from 1984 lack what is on all the subsequent ones, which is the digitally mastered notation. You can find it on the spine or in the red triangle on the cover. 1984 copies do not have that. Number 3. In what year was it first possible to purchase all 3 original trilogy films together in a single purchase in the US? That was 1988. That was that little set with the slip-covered copies that just had that paper band around it as the Star Wars trilogy. Yes, you could buy all 3 in 1986, but not as a single purchase set. And this is obviously not a boxed set, just a paper wrapper. Number 4. What was the name of the product line that introduced widescreen laserdiscs of the original trilogy in Japan? That was known as the Special Collection. Number 5. What is the more common name, either the full name or the abbreviated version, for the format known as VCC? Well, the full name we usually know it by is Video 2000. It is also sometimes abbreviated as V2000. We see Star Wars releases of that in, for example, the UK. Number 6. In what year was the first Star Wars product released on VHS and Beta in the United States? Well, that was The Making of Star Wars, first released on VHS and Beta in 1979. Number 7. What was the last Star Wars Laserdisc release in the United States? That was the Special Edition Trilogy in 1997. Number 8. Which Star Wars film had a Laserdisc release in Japan but not the United States? Probably one of the least tricky ones here. That is The Phantom Menace. Number 9. There were 2 American Star Wars releases and at least 1 Australian release on a format called the Personal Video Disc, or PVD. What type of device could play PVDs? That is a Video Now. There are different variants of that, like Video Now Color FX, Video Now XP, but the key there is Video Now. And then finally, number 10, how many different versions of the bonus lightsaber action DVD were released? There were 4. And that wraps up our first 10 Star Wars Home Video trivia questions. Again, check your score, post your score, see how you did. I'm very curious to see how this builds over time. Thank you for playing, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.